killed in cold blood for their views in a democracy because some in a particular community took exception, some viewers. And yet 5 days ago, the Supreme Court observed that suspended BJP spokesperson Nupur Sharma was single-handedly responsible for what is happening in the country and must apologize to the nation. The Supreme Court's observation to pin the blame for the violent backlash to her remarks has now been challenged. Prominent citizens, including 15 retired judges, 25 armed police officers, and more than 70 bureaucrats are signatories to an open letter. They raised 11 points to highlight how the recent comments made by the two justices had surpassed, in their words, the Lakshman Rekha. Viewers, this letter says that their views, their observations were not in sync with the judicial ethos. This is what this letter says. The letter raises, as I told you, several points. I'll just read out one paragraph. Nupur Sharma sought access to justice system before the highest court, as that court alone could consider the grant of relief being sought. The observations that have no connect jurisprudently with the issue raised in the petition transgressed in an unprecedented manner all canons of dispensation of justice. She was de facto denied access to judiciary, and in the process there was an outrage on the preamble, spirit and essence of the Constitution of India. Perceptionally, the observations, Nupur Sharma is adjudged with severity guilty in a proceeding where this was not an issue at all. Reflection, she is single-handedly responsible for what is happening in the country, has no rationale. By such observation, perceptionally, there is virtual exoneration of the dastardliest beheading at Udaipur in broad daylight. So what I was saying to you, the observations also graduate to most unjustifiable degree that this was only to fan an agenda. Unfortunate and unprecedented comments emanating from the two-judge bench of the Honorable Supreme Court have sent shockwaves in the country and outside. The observations simultaneously relayed by all news channels in high decibel are not in sync with judicial ethos. By no stretch, these observations, which are not part of the judicial order, can be sanctified on the plank of judicial propriety and fairness. Such outrageous transgressions are without parallel in the annals of judiciary. The annals of judiciary. This is what this petition is saying, this statement. And I want to open this up. Dr. Anand Ranganathan, Sanjay Dikshit, author and former IS officer who's a signatory to this petition, is with us. Tehseen Poonawala, Ashutosh, senior journalist, are with us. Dr. Ranganathan, on the basis of this petition and the widespread outrage which is shared by perhaps a wide number of Indians, perhaps even in the majority, should the top court issue a clarification at the very least, or at the very most expunge these remarks? Dr. Ranganathan, if you can hear me.
Yeah, sorry, I did not realize the question was asked to me. Yeah, good evening, Rahul. Look, you know, a couple of days ago, I gave 6 reasons why I thought the verbal order, if I may say so, by the two honorable judges of the Supreme Court was completely out of order, pun not intended. And you only have to hear the open threat by the caretaker of Ajmer Sharif Dargah today to behead Nupur and mortgage his house to the person who beheads Nupur to realize the catastrophe the Supreme Court judges have brought upon us. I'm glad that other than the IS officers or police officers, it is the slew of ex-judges that have spoken against these two judges. But I would have honestly preferred had sitting judges also expressed similar outrage. Rationally criticizing a judge or a judgment, Rahul, is as important in a democracy as praising him. Predictably, some chauthi failed leftists and darbaris are bringing up my old quote that I said in context of Prashant Bhushan in light of my criticism of Supreme Court judges, that I quote, "There are only two kinds of people in a democracy, one who respect the judiciary and the other who think they are the judiciary," unquote. I stand by this quote. There is no contradiction or hypocrisy on my part. Let me explain very briefly, just a minute. Number one, it is perfectly all right to disagree with a judge or a court judgment while at the same time respecting the judiciary. I have done it multiple times myself, and Rahul, I dare say so have you. The first time I did it publicly, I recall, was as far back as a decade ago in 2012 when I was really critical of the Chief Justice of India, Altamas Kabir, I think his name was. saying that ideas can be punished. I have since disagreed with another Chief Justice when he snootily packed off Abhijit Iyer Mitra to jail for 40 days for merely being sarcastic. I was critical of the last Chief Justice when he stayed the farm laws and refused to remove illegal blockades. Being critical of a judge or disagreeing with a judgment, especially one that is not a considered, written, bench-derived one, but rather a verbal utterance that ultimately doesn't go into an order, is not thinking that one is the judiciary. Sorry. It is simply being critical. I have on multiple occasions praised the judiciary too when they merit. Number two, what I do not do, Rahul, is what these communists and anarchists and darbaris do. Cross the boundary every single time a judgment is not to their liking and slander the judge with vile, unproven accusations of corruption, nepotism, blackmail and quid pro quo. Sure, you must be allowed to, in my view, get away by calling the judiciary, the legislature, the executive and the press as corrupt. Because corruption is an overarching subjective label, as morality and ethics are also attributable to it. However, when you single out a judge and accuse him of quid pro quo through cash or kind, that is defamatory. When you defame Justice Chandrachud by bringing in the legacy of his father who had to apologize in the wake of the Loya judgment, when you attribute quid pro quo in the wake of the Ayodhya judgment, when you incite people to pour onto the streets in the wake of the Narmada judgment, when you hail Justice Diwani as a hero after he overturns the trial court acquittal of 3 Hindus in the Viramgram riots case and convicts them, but call him a shameless BJP stooge and a villain when he acquits Kodnani. When you do all this and more, you are not respecting the judiciary, you are becoming the judiciary. I trust the difference is clear now, even to these Chauthi fails and Darbaris.
Well, since you invoke my name, Dr. Ranganathan, I'm a habitual offender. I criticize judgments very often, whether it is the Kashmiri Hindus being turned down, or Sabrimala, or the Shingur order, or the Allahabad High Court judgment in the Ayodhya case, the Ayodhya Ram Janambhoomi case. I'm on record, I write very often about these issues. So I completely empathize with you. My question, therefore, remains, will now at least the justices, the honorable ones, in our court, which are appointed to do an honorable job, do what is honorable now by Nupur Sharma also, which is to take back those observations, because they have ended up prejudicing her case, quite frankly, for eternity now. I don't think there will be other high courts or lower courts after the observations of the Supreme Court that will want to risk their necks and go out there and risk opprobrium. So, Ashutosh ji, has the time come now for these two justices perhaps to come out there and give a clarification, if nothing else? Or should they just let it go?
No, Rahul, I think I must have been very pleased if my dear friend Anand Ranganathan could have said a word about Nupur Sharma's statement, because that brought embarrassment for the country. And the party itself has decided that she has crossed the Lakshman Rekha, and so she was suspended from the party. I think he hasn't uttered a word, and this letter also does not. Let me complete. Let me complete, Your Anand. Yeah, then you
let him complete. Let him finish. I'll get you back in.
Very sad, very sad. And I hope that I was thinking that the judges should have also, those ex-judges should have also mentioned this.
Okay.
This is not the first time that the court has crossed the Lakshman Rekha. I think the court has been crossing the Lakshman Rekha for a very long time. This is the time when a guideline has to be issued. In the Teesta Sitalwar case, where the Jakia Jafri was pursuing the case for the last 16 years, 304 senior citizens of this country, the eminent lawyers and the eminent judges has written and said, the court may have to stand up for the citizen in ADM Jabalpur, but it did not kick down those who chose to fight for citizens' causes in the country. This is for the first time. Somebody has been punished and arrested because of a judgment given by the Supreme Court. So, where will we stand? This letter can be justified good in the spirit, and the other letter will not be justified good in the spirit. In the last 7-8 years, many letters have been written addressed to the Prime Minister and the President. Those letters have been dubbed as some Khan Market gang and this market gang. I fail to understand why this letter has been given so much importance. I can understand this, that whatever the judges has said.
No, why not?
Rahul,
why not, Ashutosh ji? Why shouldn't this letter? Okay, Dr. Ranganathan wants to come in. Then I want to bring in Sanjay Dikshit Saab also. Yes.
Yes, yes, Rahul, thank you. Just give me a minute, because Ashutosh, my good friend that he is, took my name. So I am duty bound to rebut his frivolity. I hope, Ashutosh, please, you will not interrupt me, because I need to make 2 points. Number one, Ashutosh said that I would have liked, had my friend Anand also mentioned Nupur and the difficulty it put the nation in. I'm sorry. I have been mentioning Nupur for the last 5 weeks, and no one has criticized and blasted this government, BJP government, for throwing Nupur under the bus. So please get your facts right. Number two, at the risk of being beeped yet again, let me just remind Ashutosh कि अगर तुम में दम है तो ये बताओ कि नुपुर ने blasphemy कहाँ करी है, but that's besides the point. Number two, Rahul, I wanted to be gentlemanly and did not want to name my good friend Ashutosh directly, but the facts are there for everyone to see in 2 cases. Number one, Ashutosh has joined the party where the president said, I am proud to be an anarchist. He was the one who said that Justice Denani, when he acquitted Maya Kodnani, was a BJP stooge. And he was the one, Ashutosh, who praised the same justice for convicting and overturning a judgment and convicting the 3 Hindus in Veera Ram Gram case. He was the one who came on to the streets upon the call by Medha Patkar when she said, let us openly defy the Narmada SC judgment. तो ये anarchist हैं, ये खुद अपने आप को जज समझते हैं, नाम हम लोगों का बदनाम करते हैं. Ashutosh, I hope I am very clear now. I have talked only facts. If anything more you require, आ जाओ JNU, आ जाओ, कॉफी पिलाऊंगा और तुम्हें एक बार फिर से facts बता दूंगा.
Anand, I would have been very happy that if you had condemned Nupur Sharma's statement, because her statement brought embarrassment to this country, humiliation to this country, and the party herself, reached to the conclusion that she has let the country down and suspended. So you can't sit on a judgment. You can't sit on a judgment.
No, 1 second, Ashutosh. Let's all hang on. Let's just 1 minute. Let's not go off. Even the beheadings have got, viewers, brought embarrassment to the country. And all those great Gulf countries that we were
I remember
running.
Rahul, the Prime Minister, when he was Chief Minister, he said every action is a reaction.
Sir, देखिए,
Godhra was an action and the Gujarat right was a reaction.
आशुतोष जी मेरे को बोलने दीजिए
please.
अरे बोलने तो दीजिए सर, बोलने तो दीजिए सर.
Rahul, 10 seconds.
1 second.
10 seconds.
The beheadings have also got us huge amount of embarrassment, viewers.
So
1 second, extrajudicial. 1 second. People will think we're a banana republic today. Can you believe it? Viewers, people going around lopping people's heads off because they don't like something that has been said, which the law only punishes by a minimum of 3 or a maximum of 5 years in jail. Here, death sentences are being pronounced on a daily basis. What does that tell you about our country? In France, the president goes to visit Samuel Paty family. They actually held a national memorial service. Here, the national government went and groveled internationally. And those same countries today are not counseling some misdirected members of the Muslim community that they took up cudgels for, viewers, for carrying out beheadings. What does that tell you? It tells you a lot. But I'm not on that point. We are on the Supreme Court. And let me just tell you, viewers, and I want to make this very clear. This is what the Supreme Court said in the Farooq Abdullah case in 1984. Sanjay Dikshit, please pay attention. I'm coming out to you. Critics are instruments of reforms, not those actuated by malice, but those who are inspired by the spirit of public weal. Bona fide criticism of any system or institution is aimed at inducing the administrators of that system or institution to look inwards and improve its public image. Courts do not like to assume the posture that they're above criticism and their functioning needs to no improvement. And we have a justice who recently, after having made the observations, comes out and says, oh, we must regulate social media because, you see, it is critical of us. There are not morons only on social media. There are also people like Dr. Anand Ranganathan who write, who put out their pieces, who have considered views and are critical of the Supreme Court. There are also people like Mamata Banerjee who in the assembly stood up and suggested there was corruption. There's also Prashant Bhushan who suggested very much the same. So whether the judge was talking about personal attacks on justices or on the institution itself, he must realize that this is still a democracy, which is still, thankfully, unregulated on whim. But Mr. Dikshit, what motivated you to write? And do you think that the justices owe some sort of a clarification to the rest of us?
Of course they do, because this particular incident, I would call it an incident because it was not reflected in the order, and that is the biggest problem. The observations themselves are problematic on several counts. Let me narrate just 4 of them. The first one is that all their observations were of the kind that actually denied equal protection of law to Nupur by suggesting that Arnab Goswami was on a separate footing, by saying that other people were separate footing, that she had clout and she was, several notches below others. So that is denying equal protection of law to her. That is one. The second one was that actually it was chilling for free speech when they said that you cannot debate a sub judice matter on the channel. So
yes.
if it comes to that, I think Rahul Shivshankar and everybody else, we can simply shut down all these debates. Because for everything that is being talked about, there will be something which will be sub judice somewhere. And the third point, which is very, very disturbing, was that they virtually supported the blasphemy law. They almost endorsed the Sharia law when they refused to listen to anything that the advocate, I think senior advocate Manjeet Singh was saying.
Yes.
That he said that she was provoked. They refused to listen. They said that there was a context. They refused to listen.
So are you saying that they should now come out and clarify?
Instead, they said,
we've gone through your letter. Should they now come out and clarify, or what are you actually demanding right now, Mr. Dixit?
Please, let me explain.
No, what are you demanding? What's your prayer?
That's what I'm saying. My prayer is that you cannot institute vicarious liability in criminal law.
How is it undone? How do we undo this now?
They have to clarify.
They have to clarify. Okay, this is Mr. Dixit, Sanjay Dixit, former IS officer, not a lightweight, viewers.
Said something which they
not a lightweight, not a social media troll who is saying that they need to clarify. Let's hope that the Supreme Court will come out and clarify. And it's not as if in the past it has not happened, viewers. I have the Graham Staines precedent, which I can state at length. I'll leave it at this, viewers. I'll leave it at this. The news are coming up. Don't go away.